Deepak Parekh. He's credited with having transformed the landscape of India's housing finance industry. With his astute business acumen and far-sightedness, he turned HDFC into a financial conglomerate that could boast of values like integrity, professionalism and transparency. His vociferous views and ability to take hard decisions have made him the unofficial crisis consultant of the government, be it his role in the Satyam scandal or the UTI mess. His ideas and experience have helped reform policies across sectors. A master troubleshooter and a guiding force for India Inc. and policymakers. His achievements across sectors like infrastructure, housing, financial services and capital markets are unparalleled. With a degree from Wharton, Keshub Mahindra joined Mahindra & Mahindra in 1947 when he was just 24. He went on to take over as chairman in 1963, a position he held till August 2012 when he stepped down. He is still on the board of various companies and continues to be chairman at Mahindra Eugene and the chairman of the board of governors at the Mahindra United World College. He has also served in the Prime Minister's Council of Trade and Industry from 2004 to 2010. Mr. Mahindra has championed recognized as an industry statesman and a key voice when it comes to matters pertaining to governance and responsibility in the corporate sphere. His illustrious career as chairman has seen M&M go from being a steel trading company to a maker of jeeps to now being one of India's biggest corporate houses with business interests in diverse sectors like aviation, IT, realty and of course automobiles. He is a recipient of numerous honours, including the Chevalier de l'Ordre National de la Légion d'Honneur by the French government.
Well, there are times in one's career as a journalist where you feel especially privileged and you love your profession. And this is one of those days. I have two of the people I admire most in Indian business, in Indian professional life. And they're both friends, colleagues, and one a mentor, Deepak Parekh. Could I say that Mr. Mahindra is a friend and a mentor of yours all your life?
Most certainly. Friend, philosopher and guide.
So all your mistakes are because of him?
Yes. And all my successes are because of him.
Yes, of course. And are you proud of the protege that you have created?
Well, first I'm delighted to hear him say that about me. Yes, admire him greatly. I think that he's extremely humble and a quiet person, but a great teacher of what's happening all over the world. And I wish there were more people like him.
But he is, a large part of his life, his teaching is because of what you...
Well, I'm not so sure.
The way you interacted with him. That's your modesty as well.
No, it was a joy to be with him. I mean, started something with a great dream, which his uncle started. And then one watched with much admiration that how in a world of money and finance one could still act and behave in a mode which is entirely different from the natural thing. It took quite a lot of guts for Pranoy to do this.
There's a lot of guts and created one of the greatest post-independent India institutions.
Of course.
In fact, Pranoy, I was working in Chase Manhattan Bank when I left and joined HDFC. ICICI and my uncle H.T. Parekh were thinking of starting this. So he asked me one day to go and see Keshub.
Before you joined?
Before.
After leaving Chase Manhattan?
No, I was still with Chase.
Okay.
I had not resigned. So I went to see Keshub. And we chatted and Keshub said, "Why are you joining HDFC? Join Mahindra & Mahindra. I will take you."
So in a way you've always considered him...
Well, Mr. H.T. Parekh said to me, "Will you please interview my nephew, and quite rightly he said, I don't want to interview him.
Right, yes.
So he comes along, and I said to him, are you out of your mind? Why are you leaving this job? And you're starting something, you don't know where you're going to end up. But I admire you greatly for doing so.
That is an amazing story, actually. But you would have loved him to have been part of Mahindra.
Of course. But then he was.
Yes.
He joined our board, one of our most eminent members on the board.
Exactly.
So, what, we've been 20 years?
Yeah, maybe more. 25.
25 years of working together.
Yeah.
35 years. HDFC's finished 35 years.
Yeah, right from the day one, I was
On the
the
board,
HDFC board.
yes. But there's one thing which I think is very common to both of you, is ethics and integrity in a fairly tough environment. How did you hold on to that? Were there temptations to deviate?
Well, I think that if you have faith and confidence in what you believe in and stick to it without making any exceptions, it becomes a little easy. Of course, there are problems and difficulties, but I think it makes it much easier to follow some of those.
But it is a difficult road in India to build a business being completely ethical and full of integrity.
Of course, it's practically impossible. But the trouble is, it's not getting better, it's getting worse.
Right.
And that is the part that bothers me the most.
Yes.
That how are we going to get out of this hole?
Yes, we're going to come to that actually. I just wanted to looking ahead into the future, but I wanted to ask you also your experience of your 35 years working in a tough environment with integrity. A lot of people must have come to you and say, sir, this is not corrupt, this is what is called managing the environment.
Yeah, that's a favorite word.
How did you deal with that?
Fortunately for us, being a financial institution, we were never asked for political donations.
Great.
And I remember a couple of times people came and said that elections are around the corner. I said, we don't give money to any political party. And we are
So
apolitical.
after a while they gave up.
So they gave up afterwards.
But in everyday life there's so many little deviations that people ask you to make.
No, what worries me also is the way things are going. It's becoming practically impossible. And we are in the housing industry.
Yes.
And the horrendous stories that a developer comes and tells you. I'm not saying developers are clean, but they have to play ball if they want land. They have to play ball if they want construction permits. Even after buildings are completed, to get the completion certificate, the amount of money they have to pay.
Even if they have not violated anything.
Even if they have not violated, and not in Bombay or Delhi, across the country. It has become normal, it has become a normal transaction. And when will we get out of this?
That is the fear, normal, it's the norm.
No, it's the norm.
That's what you're saying is what you're worried about.
And frankly, the stories one hears, there is no escape from it. How are we going to change all this? And it's worrying.
Do you think, I remember I did my PhD under Professor Raj Krishna, I don't know if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
He told us once that the telephone guy used to come and give him a bill, huge inflated. So he asked the guy, how much do I have to pay you to get the correct bill? And the guy said 400 rupees a month or something. But even paying 400 to get a correct bill, there's something not quite kosher about that either.
Yeah, it's true. But Raj Krishna and I were on the board of SAIL.
Right.
And I think at our very first meeting, we wrote a note of dissent.
Really?
Yeah. Because they were trying to do something which seemed very strange to us. to approve of a program of, 10 to 20,000 crores or whatever it was. And we objected that you are putting this up with no background, nothing, and you want our approval on the board. So they listened to us and did the best thing that you could do, that when the time came for re-election, they fired us. It's true.
That's the way you have to beat the norm, actually. So in a situation where, as you say, it's the norm, how many people in India, business people, could go to bed at night, the last breath they take before they die and say, I have never paid a bribe or had black money in my life? What percentage can actually say that, do you think, in the world of business?
I think it's very difficult to put a percentage, but I would say very rare.
Very rare. Very
Not
rare.
many.
Like you
Very
say,
rare.
90% would have paid some form of bribe or black money?
I think percentage for now is very difficult to believe. But I would say that a very small percentage would not have succumbed to this.
So to a young person coming into the world, like he was when you met him and when you started out in Mahindra's in 1948, what would you tell him now?
But live to the conditions of belief, confidence. And my philosophy now has been very simple. I greatly believe in the dignity of the human being. I greatly believe that they should be encouraged, empowered, and given freedom to operate. Now, when all that happens, then this so-called managing the environment becomes a part of life. So you have success, you have failure, but do not run away from the basic principles.
But that is something you've always done, isn't it? That he's always empowered, delegated, and supported people at tough
But even
times.
Deepak in the HDFC, same principles, same empowerment.
You know, another way I look at it is, I tell my people that if you take a decision today, do not be afraid if that decision becomes public the next day.
Right.
So whatever decisions you take, you should be prepared that it will be known the next day. Have a clear conscience, sleep on a soft pillow.
But now you people in the media have a huge task before you, frankly.
I'm now a little self-critical. I think we've done a lot of positives.
Of course.
We've questioned politicians, we've exposed certain, but there is this tabloid sensationalism. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
And making a big issue out of small issues.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, pick up
Non-issues.
one or two points of principle. And I think it's the duty of the media to pursue that. Because you can't touch everything.
Right. So, one of the issues which I'm fighting for, and it goes against our own interest, is strong defamation laws. At the moment, it's a punishment-free society for the media. You can say what you like, 20 years later some judgment will come out, nobody worries. Many media houses have 300, 400, 500 defamation cases. Do you think punishment of some kind is necessary and swift, and not just in the area of media, in many areas?
But Pranoy, at the center lies the accountability of the judicial system.
Yes.
This so-called hackneyed phrase, punishment, accountability.
Right.
I find that most of that is denied to the people.
Right.
So how hope fill these things? And I think the media has a huge role to play.
No, and if you see in United Kingdom last year, a new law was passed, the Anti-Bribery Act, where the giver and the taker both get punished.
Yes.
And both have to go to prison. Both have to pay a fine. I think we need to have that system in India. Why should the giver of the bribe always get scot-free? He's never questioned.
Because you need two hands to clap. I mean, both are equally culpable.
Both are equally responsible, guilty. But the person who receives it, if it's known, he gets into difficulty.
Right. So here I'm talking to two of the most respected, I think the two most respected industrialists in India today.
That's very kind of
No,
you.
there's no doubt about it. You can ask about it. I'm not just saying that because it's widespread feeling, both of you. And you're a little pessimistic. But what are the positives you see in India today?
I think that there is always a time when the courses change. And I think there is enough momentum. But I think we need desperately to change the political system.
Right.
Otherwise, this will carry on. And I think that no matter which political system, They ought to have specific agendas, what they should do. And to begin with, pursue just the essentials. See, once you put the essentials right, then there's huge hope. There's huge, like you, huge talent in India, I believe. You know?
Yeah. What do you think, positives?
No, I think there are lots of positives. In fact, I think the positives are more than the negatives. We need to do a few things to get the system going, to get the economy growing. Take, for instance, the positives. We are a consumption-led economy. Consumerism is still very low. And this is just the beginning. If you take consumer credit penetration, it is only 9% in India of GDP. In Singapore and Malaysia, it's 65. Even China, it is 30.
9 and 65.
9 and 65. So consumer credit is not yet picked up. And our economy is consumption-led. Whatever India manufactures, people are buying, whether it's goods or services. And it's visible in mortgages, it's visible in two-wheelers. Telecom is the best example. Would you believe that in the year 2000, this is 12 years ago, our tele-density was under 1%, 0.4%. Today it is 78% in a matter of 12 years.
Remarkable.
And it will be over 100% in 2020. You look at any number of penetration of two-wheelers, mortgages are going to grow 8 times from 2010 to 2020. And with mortgages, it's housing is a huge employment. I see a lot of growth.
Fueled by consumer
We need
demand.
infrastructure. We need some decisions. On infrastructure we need. And we need to cleanse the system to some extent.
That is the secret, Deepak. How to clean the system.
Cleanse the system.
And honestly, we haven't learned to have a consumer-led economy. When you look at our economy, when we have surplus of grain, we don't know what to do.
It's lying in. I mean, it is
Wasted.
criminal in my mind to have poverty, malnutrition.
Give the damn thing
and
away.
80 million, yes.
Give it to people. Why does?
Yeah, 80 million tons of food grains in stocks rotting.
So what are we holding on to?
Absolutely.
We don't know how to tackle it.
Now, you were very close to Indira Gandhi and to Manmohan Singh. Indira Gandhi was, were you like, your advice was asked by many governments, and you've always said 1990 was a key turning point and Narasimha Rao made a big difference. But what was your memories of Indira Gandhi and what was your interactions with her?
I think one great quality she had was that first, I think she was a true Indian. No matter what she said. At the Bangladesh war, I got a message from her to come and see her. So I went to see her, and she said to me that what I want you to do is talk to the business community so that they can help the rehabilitation of the soldiers. So I said, look, I don't have to talk to them. You just say the word, everybody will rally around you.
Yes.
So there's one quality she had. Secondly, she was not afraid to take decisions. And there are a lot of negatives about her also. It's not that.
Did she talk to you about economics?
As I said, every time we opened it, closed. Book is closed. It's true.
So she'd ask you advice on all kinds
But that's
of
not a bad thing, Pranoy, because there's not much interference there.
Right. Except that you would have liked to see
Of course,
liberalization a bit earlier.
eternal fight against those old theories and
Yes.
what you should do.
So every time you try to open the topic about doing anything in economics, to switch off and talk about something else.
Yeah, talk about the way she's hung her painting. No, it's true. And I think that is what helped our relationship. Because there are not many people who talk to her about these things.
Right. And Dr. Manmohan Singh?
Different type of relationship. I've known him since 1967. So there is
Almost from Delhi School of Economics days.
right.
Right.
He was an advisor to government at that time. And that was entirely different.
So that's economics.
Yeah,
and
of course.
an
Hold on.
intellectual.
Yeah. I disagreed with him on many of these issues, as Deepak does.
But he keeps turning to you and asking you. Your work on Satyam is just one of the most admirable and could have spiraled into a terrible disaster. But we actually came out better after it.
No,
With faith in the system.
when I look at the story of Satya, I think they did a great job
Wonderful.
and trapped us into the whole theme, as you know.
No, you've done a wonderful job after that.
And anyway, no, but the point is, even today, many don't even recognize what we've done. The income tax people say one thing, other part of government says something else. Everybody's forgotten what the state was.
You know, that is so disappointing. Having done something absolutely amazing out of a crisis situation to come out positive, and then people question.
Yeah, I mean, we got a, what did we get?
I think the bank accounts were frozen.
Yeah, no,
and some back taxes. When there was no profit, the accounts were fraudulent.
You know,
They were really losses.
You know, the income tax people seized our books. They froze our accounts and gave us a show cause notice for 800 crores. And we said, hold it. Where is the profit? You know, we've not earned any profit on this. Anyway, we went to court. We had no choice. And thank God the court slapped them. Slapped the tax people, slapped everyone.
I mean, thank God for the courts, because it's so unfortunate to have to go through that procedure.
That's right.
They got to stay.
We got to stay.
Case will go on.
No, the court
Cases will
knows
go
all
on.
of it.
No, that's 20 years back.
But I thought that was a beautiful way it was handled, led by Deepak, of course.
Beautiful, absolutely.
And maybe
something
a
we're proud of.
pattern for the future. There were so many problems. I think it would have been a wonderful pattern for the future.
But
there,
huge support from Prime Minister Manmohan Singh
tremendous.
and Pranab Mukherjee also, because that stage, after we went to Hyderabad, Prime Minister had taken leave for some time for his operation, and Pranab was officiating. Pranabda was officiating. So I went to see him a couple of times and across the telephone and helped us. They were committed. They were committed to see this through.
So you'd like to see more of that sort of commitment. Do you find that India only reacts when we are in a crisis? We need to react, do things when we're not in a crisis. Like 1990, you often mention, we did, liberalization came in the face of a foreign exchange.
No, tremendous.
So, but when there's no crisis,
And
we
I
sail along.
personally think that, who was it? Narasimha Rao is the one who really deserves credit for the reformation.
I think
We tend to forget, but
no, he really did. But of course, again, India's back. We only had 1 month's supply of foreign exchange reserves. We were really back to the wall.
terrible problem. But look how well the industry responded. Pranoy.
Yes, tremendous. But now coming to the current situation, the future, do you feel we were growing at 8-9%, now we're down to 5-6%. There's a lot of pessimism. There's a kind of little trust deficit between corporate India and the government. How do we change this? How do we get back to 9%? How do we show China that a democracy can do this as well, can grow fast?
Well, I think one of the bases is the political system. And I think that needs to be strengthened. And, it needs only a few handful of people to do this.
Do you think they should tap on more people from the private sector, like we've got Nandan Nilikani?
Of course they should.
Here's a young man they should be tapping.
Mrs. Gandhi tapped, I don't know whether you recall, Mrs. Gandhi tapped half a dozen people from the private sector, and many of them, Keshub, never came, like you had sent Sule. Hindustan Lever sent Rajadaksh. Nitin Desai came from the Tatas. Bimal Jalan came from ICICI.
Correct.
This was all Mrs. Gandhi's getting people from the private sector to come and work in Delhi for 3 years, 5 years, and most of them stayed on.
But do you feel that has slowed down a bit, that that this tapping of the intellectual capital in India?
I think that harmony between the bureaucracy and people outside it, I personally think doesn't exist.
Does not exist.
To the extent it should. Why shouldn't it exist?
Yes, we're all in the same aim.
And all right, there's a discrepancy in what they get paid and things like that. But so what? There are enough people in India, I think, who would do a tremendous job to bring all this together.
Absolutely.
As Deepak knows, he led a few of us getting together and going public. And I think we did make a small impact. But no, I don't believe enough, Deepak. We tried to create another platform where people could respond. And we had very good names on this.
I have often felt that at the time of the license Raj, and to some extent we have a different kind of corruption Raj now, you did not do what was necessary to get certain licenses, which was you didn't manage the environment. And you lost a lot of opportunities. You could have grown maybe twice as fast. Although you did pretty well anyway, but are you proud that you didn't do that? Or do you feel, I could have been twice as rich?
No, but Pranav, please remember that our whole philosophy in M&M anyway, I can talk for,
Yes.
is again I get back to empowerment of people. And our whole methodology of running a business is really based on empowering people, the delight of seeing them how well they do, like in HDFC. And I'm very proud of that kind of thing. So even today, our primary strength in M&M is people.
That
Is people.
And but you delegate up to a point. You say that you cannot cross certain lines.
No, there are certain lines you can't cross.
And they get that ethics is
But there's
in their
enough,
DNA.
90% they operate totally independently.
But they've got ethics and integrity in their
No,
DNA.
that is a core. That is a core for us anyway. And for HDFC.
And we have also, without people, you cannot just succeed in any organization. If you see the way we have grown in our asset management, life insurance, the bank has 60,000 direct employees. So you have to delegate to a certain point. You have to have systems and processes.
Yeah, but now we now operate with a strength of a workforce of 150,000 people
My God.
all over the world.
Yes.
And about 20,000 are foreigners. So it can be done. I mean, why not?
Can be done ethically.
Ethically,
I think
of
that's
course.
what I want everybody
But we think it
to
can
look
be
at
done.
you two and say, you don't have to manage the environment. You can do it ethically. Maybe the shortcuts you have to avoid, but in the long run, it can be done still. So the youngsters can believe they see you, that this can happen.
Most certainly. You
Of
must
course it
stand
can be.
firm and don't give in.
I mean, we have very rarely over the years asked for a bribe. It's very strange.
If you've given up, you as a hopeless
Yeah, I
dog.
know that, but it's true.
The both of you are hopeless for.
But that doesn't mean that, unlike him, that we don't give to the political parties. We do.
Yeah, but that's all over
But
the world.
but we made it very clear. Of course, by check, never
Yes.
without the check.
Yes.
And we a system for different parties, depending on their strength in the political system.
I do have to touch upon one setback in your life, which I, as a journalist, as an anchor, I'm never meant to give my own views, but I have said it on air on the 9 o'clock news once, that the whole Union Carbide issue where you were involved, I said it on air, and I'm not meant to reveal my personal views, saying I think it was ridiculous to involve you as a non-executive chairman in that. And I resented it. If I resented it, you must feel terrible about that.
No, I do feel terrible about it because I think it's very unfair.
Exactly.
And it is an act of politics, even today. Even today, nobody knows what happened. Or what happened.
And the non-executive
But very
chairperson-
sad, very, very, very sad. Whatever happened, it was a great tragedy. So one has to feel why. But the tragedy is that people did nothing. I mean, all this hullabaloo after the judgment, all this hullabaloo went on. What happened?
Exactly.
Nothing.
Exactly.
And it's still lingering on. And we
Rather
were-
than actually getting the work done and cleaning
Well,
up.
it has happened. God knows why it happened. These things happen in life. Damn it, do something about it.
Yes. Clean it up, fix it.
I mean, look at the stories of media spread. That we have to clean up whatever debris is lying
Yes,
there.
yes.
So do it.
Yes.
Why
That's
the
what should
hell
be
don't
done.
you do it?
So this actually, Deepak, brings in the whole issue of corporate governance, that non-executive, in fact, after this, They have made the liability of non-executive board members much less. It should have been done earlier. So, what are the lessons to be learned about non-executive board members and executive board members in corporate governance?
No, you see, the management of a company normally runs day-to-day affairs, and they come to the board for strategy, vision. One other issue on a quarterly basis is approval of accounts.
Yes.
Now, even as a chairman of an audit committee, it is impossible for the non-executive chairman of the audit committee to look at all subsidiaries, to look at all companies. He will need a permanent office in that company. So it is just not practical.
Yes.
You know, he has to depend and rely on statements by external auditors, on statements by internal auditors, some management certificates. Otherwise, you are unable to do your job. So responsibility of non-independent, non-executive directors has to be limited to that extent.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
if there is a blast in a factory, and you go and arrest all the, like there's a fire in a hospital in Kolkata,
Yes.
and the trustees were arrested.
This is just symbolic rather than fixing the problem.
You know,
Well, it causes a tremendous
I'm a
strain.
trustee of a
Of
couple
course, it
of,
causes tremendous strain. It's just
I'm a
unfair.
trustee of a couple of hospitals. I was petrified.
Yeah.
My wife told me, step down. We don't want this because a fire can be caused, short circuit or some mistake of someone.
Yes.
What do we do?
So it's actually it's a disincentive
Disincentive
to
to
have
serve.
non-executive
Yeah.
to serve on boards because
On
you
boards.
get involved in things which you should not, and it is tense, and there's a lot of strain. So something we need to learn.
And
about.
sadly, it is run again by politics.
Yes, yes. That's what's
Sadly.
seeping into
Yeah.
all aspects of. It's just to show that we've got something.
A political show.
Political show, exactly. But coming to what I would say could have been a proud moment of yours last year, when Mahindra and Mahindra overtook Tata Motors.
No, well, we don't look at it.
I knew you'd say that.
No, of course
But,
not.
and buying the South Korean company, I never can pronounce the name.
Sangyong.
Sangyong, yeah.
Well, that is because of friends like him and many others who served on our board for years.
But made us proud. Did you feel that India's coming of age with this sort of?
No, but India has a huge potential for now. I mean, look at the intellect that exists amongst the corporate sector. But we tend to spoil our own image.
We're good at doing that. When things are going well, a little bit of suicide.
Something got to do. I look at our newspapers today. 3/4 of the papers full of who raped who.
Right.
I mean, look at it.
And
I
then-
asked a very senior member of your tribe, and he turned around to me and says, not to be quoted, what is there to report about? Nothing else to report.
That's not true. There is
No, of course
so
there is.
much.
The positives are never
They're not,
portrayed by the press or the media.
Well, NDTV is going to start that, a whole section on. There are a lot of people doing very good work in India, and the media just doesn't cover them. So we are.
Do you know one gentleman in Chicago many years ago started a newspaper called Good News of Chicago. It went bankrupt. Because people wouldn't buy the newspaper. They want to hear all these stories about killing and murder and rape.
Is there anything about your mentor and friend that you've been longing to ask him but have never asked him?
What is your proudest moment, Keshub? Your greatest achievement?
My greatest achievement would have to be my great pride in dealing with people.
If Dr. Manmohan Singh came here one evening and sat with you and said, just tell me 2 things that I should do, sir, what would you tell him?
You should not have done what you did. I tell him straight to his face. And secondly, he gave an impression of not being active.
Is there anything about your mentor and friend that you've been longing to ask him but have never asked him? Here's your chance.
He knows my life inside out.
We meet on a regular basis. Every quarter I go to
Ask
see.
him a question which he'll find tough.
What is
to
your
answer.
proudest moment, Keshub? Your greatest
Yes.
achievement, as you see it?
My greatest achievement would have to be my great pride in dealing with people. I mean, I'm a great believer of that. And also to do things to help people all around.
I think you never come out, no one comes out of Keshub's room unhappy.
That's such a
Whatever problem he goes with, he feels relieved, satisfied. Keshub listens carefully, gives some solutions. Even if there's no solution, the person is
he
satisfied.
feels that
he
he
heard me out.
effortless thought.
Yeah, heard me out.
That's a bit of a
Dispassionate.
problem. Nobody ever leaves Mahindras, right?
Oh, we're very proud of that also.
Lowest attrition rates.
Even in the IT sector, where the attrition rate is very high, as you know.
So if I had to ask you a couple of things that you would like the government to do now to get us back onto, so that the world is slightly giving up on India. They're saying in BRICS, change eye of India with eye of Indonesia. You know, these sort of signals are not good. And I mean, there's that feeling within India as well that we're not doing, achieving our full potential.
No, but you see, now what has to happen, according to me, is a certain degree of stability in government policy.
Yes.
I mean, what happened to us? From a 9%, great joy, great achievement, we slide down to 5%. All right, it happens in economy.
Right.
But the question we have to ask, why the hell did it happen?
Yes. What
Because
have
we
learned?
created an economic environment of uncertainty
Right.
and gave an impression that we are not sticking to our word. Deepak has said that so many times.
Actually, that's a very important point. Uncertainty is what...
Uncertainty, and for no reason at all. Don't you agree, Deepak?
Absolutely.
We had no reason to do that.
We have nothing black and white. Everything is grey. That's what the foreigners say. Even the Indian companies, like today, all your IT companies who've been demanded massive amount of back taxes, royalty disallowances or service tax, they're all saying that this is not heard of, unheard of. We are creating jobs in India and they are sending notices for 5,000 crores and 2,000 crores.
Crippling.
IT and back office is the backbone of India. 3 million people work there. Youngsters get jobs there in back. We have to encourage it, not discourage it. Please believe me, there are large number of big corporations, IT companies, who are moving away
Right.
from software development, from back office, from India, because of the so-called uncertainty of tax regime.
But Deepak, more than that, we've created an arena of disbelief amongst the investors. You know, and how to bring back that environment.
Why do we do this? I mean, don't they see this is hurting India? This uncertainty, this chopping and changing of arbitrariness in tax laws.
But coalition politics is to blame for it, because, you know, many times when you talk to the political leaders or the Congress party people, they said, you know, there is no consensus. Our coalition partners stop you. Opposition will obviously stop you or prevent
But
you
even
from
your
doing
partners.
anything, but even the coalition partners. And the coalition partner may have 10 seats or 20 seats,
But
but
they
they
can be
have the same
critical,
power. They're
critical.
so critical.
But tell me, I mean, is that for like this tax issue? That's not a coalition issue. That is harakiri.
Yes, I think you're right. I think that some of the mistakes were made by government, frankly. And it only requires 2 or 3 things to go wrong.
For everybody to say we got
As you know,
alternatives.
I don't want to name any people, but
No.
I think it was totally unnecessary to do that.
So if Dr. Manmohan Singh came here one evening and sat with you and said, just tell me 2 things that I should do, sir, what would you tell him?
Firstly, you should not have done what you did. I tell him straight to his face. And secondly, he gave an impression of not being active. You're a leader. Whether you like it or not, you have to.
Take
Yes.
action.
Wonderful ideas, great human being, totally honest. So you can't fault him on all that. But something happened which stalled him. I don't know what.
And you say, don't make those mistakes you made and be active and take steps, right?
Yes, it doesn't matter, take steps. And I think India has a huge future.
I think you're right. There's this feeling of paralysis, right?
Yeah.
So if he came to you, Dr. Manmohan Singh, and said, and I'm sure he does actually, a couple of things, just give me 2-3 things. And forget about the elections. This is for India. What would you say?
No, I would say the biggest risk I see today, which many people don't appreciate, is a downgrade by international rating agencies.
Right.
We are on investment grade, and the ramifications, the consequences of a downgrade are so severe.
Downgrade means we become junk.
Junk status
We are
so
one
severe,
step above junk.
so severe that as much as $50 billion can go out overnight.
And that's what happens.
Because endowment funds, pension funds,
Cannot invest in
sovereign funds cannot invest in junk bonds or junk paper. It's the same with equity, it's the same with debt, particularly debt. And the $60-70 billion that India has got on GSEC and corporate debt, all that will vanish. Your rupee will go for a toss, the confidence will collapse.
I mean,
And we have to do something to prevent this.
It's a frightening prospect what
It's
you're
a frightening,
talking about.
but it's not been appreciated.
It's not been
been
appreciated.
appreciated by the finance minister, but not by his colleagues. I think
I agree with you. I think it's a terrible situation. The FM has great thoughts, but I think he's paralyzed. He can't act.
he's going every day to a new city trying to build confidence
Because
amongst
it's
the foreign investors.
so close to being a junk bond country.
And to meet
Junk
your
status.
deficit, you need more foreign investment. Otherwise, how are you going to meet your deficit?
I think that's the key. It's a very, very important warning.
These are the subjects that you're very careful about. Then I go further and I say, for God's sake, invest in the future of India. Look after the health of the people. Educate them.
Health, education.
Of course, they're key. I mean, today, frankly, any person with a low income falls ill. What happens to his family? I mean, he's finished, frankly. He's finished.
No safety nets.
And I think one of the things that one has to admire the US, there are many faults, is that look how they manage the price of food in their whole economic system. I still think America is one of the cheapest countries in the world for food.
It is.
Having managed that, India has not understood that India needs that. And India has to manage food if they want to improve the good of society.
And food inflation is one of the biggest causes of our
It's killing you.
It's killing the common man. And it's not that we don't have enough grains. It's the wastage, it's the middlemen,
we don't know what to
the
do with it.
inefficiencies of the system.
It's just management of the economy which is failing. I
You
think
need one
political-
leader who can lead you.
So just to wrap this up, if you had to say to your protege something,
Have to?
say to your young protege sitting next to you, he's a young man.
Yeah, I wish he was 10 years younger. We need many people like that.
But looking at his life and what he's done, what would you
But I'm
say?
very proud of him, I think. And I've been his deputy chairman for 35 years. And I've enjoyed every minute of it. A great privilege.
And you think awarding him a lifetime achievement along with you,
But for me, it's a great honor.
It's a privilege for me.
and you, what words for your mentor and friend?
I wish he lives on and on.
Well, you're
So
looking
that I
in good
have my-
shape. You're looking in good
I'm all
shape.
right. I had this problem a few weeks ago. I felt my knee suddenly crumbled. And I've still, so otherwise there's nothing wrong with
Yeah,
me.
fantastic.
I mean, even walking till this morning there was no problem. Then it suddenly happens. And by tomorrow it will be okay again.
But you know, I mean, I think we all wish the same. And I think looking at you is going to be still a long innings. You should think of another career now.
Politics.
Well,
Too late for politics.
No, never too late. Never too late. You should actually. Would you ever think of politics?
No,
Never.
I'm not made that.
Yeah, I'm like him.
We do look to people like you to join. That's your next
I'm
career.
told.
No, you're
I'm
not.
just told.
Not at all.
You're very kind to say
Not
that.
at
but
all.
you're told.
I think you're looking wonderful, and it's just a great privilege for me to award you a Lifetime Achievement Award. I swear this comes from my heart personally and from the whole of NDTV.
Thank you very much.
God bless you. No, please, please, please.